Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4, yes? In one file. It's okay. If I have any questions, fine. Okay, so now we'll go over the test. Do you want me to send you a soft copy of the questions, or you want me just to go through them?
Carla's saying, go ahead, Dr. Woody, why don't you just read it?
Okay. All right, so part 1 of 4. The statement, the most important thing about deafness is that deaf people use a sign language. This statement, A, follows the medical model, B, the cultural model, C, both medical and cultural.
Marvin said, sorry, I missed. And then I see B in the air, B.
D is not.
B as in boy.
Boy, yes, that's correct. B is in boy. 2, the statement, deaf people have a medical pathology. A follows medical model, B follows cultural model, C follows medical and cultural model.
I see A. Ren saying, I missed the question.
Deaf people have a medical pathology. A, medical, B, cultural, C, medical and cultural. A, yes, medical model. Okay. 3, the statement, deaf people should be educated, follows medical model, A, or B, follows cultural model, or C, follows medical and cultural model.
I see C, 2
C,
C's.
yeah. C, yes. Okay, number 4. Manila has A, a sign language, B, a separate identity, C, both A and B, D, neither A nor B.
I see C, C.
C, correct. Providence Island has a sign language, A, B, a separate deaf identity, C, both, D, neither.
I see A, C, C, A.
A, Providence Island doesn't have a separate deaf identity. Deaf people are integrated with hearing people. So they have a sign language, but not deaf identity like Manila. Okay, 6, Manila has A, a deaf identity, B, a separate deaf community, C, both A and B, D, neither A nor B.
I see a few C's.
C's, yes. 7, Providence Island has A, a deaf identity, B, a separate deaf community, C, both A and B, D, neither A nor B.
I see D and
D.
1 C from Ray.
Okay, D is correct. Deaf people are integrated into the society. 8, deaf people tend to marry. Deaf people is related to A, linguistic system, B, social system, C, belief system, D, technological system. Deaf people marry other deaf people.
C. C.
C? They
C.
want to or they do?
It's a social.
Could be B, social
they want,
system.
So it's a belief.
No, I didn't say want. I said they tend to marry. They marry, not want to marry.
B.
B, correct. Number 9, if an area has a sign language, A, it may have a deaf community, B, it must have a deaf community, C, neither A nor B.
I see A's.
Yes, A is correct. 10, if an area has a sign language, A, it may have a deaf culture. B, it must have a deaf culture. C, neither A nor B.
I see A's.
That's correct. Number 11, if an area has a sign language, A, it must have a separate deaf identity. A, it may have a separate identity. B, it must have a separate identity. C, neither A nor B.
I see A's.
Yes, correct. Number 12, if an area has a deaf community, A, it may have a sign language. B, it must have a sign language. C, neither A nor B.
I see mostly B and one C from Marvin.
B,
He changed his answer to B.
B, yes, okay. Okay, that's the first part of the 4. Let me go to the second part of the 4. Mhm. Okay, part number 2. Oops, sorry, wrong exam. Okay, deaf history is not deaf culture. Okay, so let me go back. Introduction to deaf cultures. Deaf identities and deaf cultures, part 1. Okay, deaf cultures and deaf identities. Um, mm, mm, mm. I'm sorry, I thought I had this downloaded, but maybe not. Sorry, it's taking me a little while to find this. Okay, part 2. Deaf people want to marry other deaf people is related to A, linguistic system, B, social system, C, belief system, D, technological system.
I see C's.
That's correct. C is correct. Question number 2. Filipino Sign Language uses SOV and SVO word order, while English uses only SVO word order. This is related to A, linguistic system, B, social system, C, belief system, D, technological system.
I see A's.
Yes, correct, A, linguistic system. 3, Manila has A, a separate deaf community, B, a separate deaf culture, C, both A and B, D, neither A nor B.
I see C's.
C, correct. Number 4, Providence Island has A separate deaf community, B, a separate deaf culture, C, both A and B, D, neither A nor B.
I see D's.
As in David, yes, yes. Okay. Number 5, Manila has a separate deaf culture. A separate deaf identity. B, both A and C, neither A and C.
I see just one C from Renz. And I see a couple of C's and one A from Kyla.
Manila have a culture and identity, both. C. 6, Providence Island has A separate deaf culture, B, a separate deaf identity, C, both A and B, D, neither A nor B.
I see D's. D.
D is the answer, yes. If an area has a deaf community, it may have a deaf culture, it must have a deaf culture. Neither or both A, neither A nor B.
I see B.
Yes. If an area has a deaf community, A, it may have a separate deaf identity. B, it must have a separate deaf identity. C, neither A nor B.
I see B's.
B, correct. Number 9, if an area has a deaf culture, A, it may have a sign language. B, it must have a sign language. C, neither A nor B.
I see B's.
B, correct. Number 10, if an area has a deaf culture, it may have a deaf community. It must have a deaf community, or neither.
I see B's.
B, correct. The statement, what's important about deafness is that deaf people cannot hear. A, medical model. B, cultural model. C, both medical and culture.
I see A's.
A, correct. Number 12, the statement, deaf people need to learn to read. A, medical model. B, cultural model. C, both medical and cultural model.
I see C's.
C, correct. C is correct. Okay. Statement, deafness doesn't need to be cured. A, medical model. B, cultural model. C, medical and cultural model.
B.
Yes.
B as in boy.
Correct. Okay, that's number 2. Let me download number 3 now. Okay. Number 3. 1, the statement that deaf people must learn to speak. A, follows medical.
Sorry, we missed the statement, sir. What was the statement again?
Sorry, the statement, deaf people must learn to speak. A, medical. B, cultural. C, medical and culture.
Sorry, Ember's not. A.
Yes,
A.
A, okay. 2, the statement that deaf people need to learn to sign. A, follows medical model. B, cultural model. C, medical and cultural.
B.
B, correct. All right, number 3, the statement deaf people should be sent to doctors for treatment. A, medical model. B, cultural model. C, medical and cultural model.
A.
A, correct. Okay, number 4, in Manila, A, most of the deaf people sign. B, most of the hearing people sign. C, both A and B. D, neither A nor B.
A.
A, correct. On Providence Island, A, most of the deaf people sign. B, most of the hearing people sign. C, both A and B. D, neither A nor B.
I see D's and C's and one B.
Should be C. Most of the deaf people sign and most of the hearing people sign. That means they're very well integrated. Okay, number 6. Providence Island is in or near A, North America, C, Central America, C, South America, D, none of the above.
B. B.
Let me check again. Yes, Central America, B. 7, Providence Island belongs to A, USA, B, Nicaragua, C, Thailand, D, none of the above.
I see D's.
Yes, correct, none of the above. Okay, 8, if an area has a deaf culture, it may have a separate deaf identity, A. B, it must have a separate identity. C, neither A nor B.
B.
B, correct. Number 9, the statement deaf people cannot integrate because they have a problem. A, follows medical model. B, cultural model. C, medical and culture.
A.
A, correct. The statement deaf people need to learn to write. A, follows medical model. B, follows cultural model. C, follows medical and cultural model.
C.
Yes. Number 11, deaf people prefer doorbells that use lights is related to linguistic system, A, B, social system, C, belief system, D, technological system.
C.
Yes, C. 12, deaf people use doorbells that use lights is related to A, linguistic system, B, social system, C, belief system, D, technological system.
Everybody's saying D.
D, correct. Okay. All right, so that's part number 3, and we're going to do part number 4, and then we're finished with the review of the quiz. Okay, the final exam, sorry. All right, number 4, deaf people in Philippines interact with people who know FSL is related primarily to A, linguistic system, B, social system, C, belief system, D, technological system.
It's everybody saying B. B.
Yes,
Social.
yes, social, yes. Number 2, the statement sign language will damage speech. A, follows medical model. B, follows cultural model. C, follows medical and culture. D, does not follow either.
A.
Yes. Number 3, the statement
So
deaf
Yami
people.
saying, sorry, Sammy, Yami is saying I missed the statement, the last statement from before. Can you repeat it?
Which
Sir?
one?
The last
Sign
question.
language. Number 2, the statement sign language will damage speech. Is that medical, cultural, or both?
So everyone's
A.
saying A.
A, yes, medical. All right, number 3, the statement deaf people are not sick. A follows medical model, B follows cultural model, C follows medical and cultural model.
B. Everybody's saying B.
Yes. All right, number 4, the statement deafness doesn't need to be cured. A follows medical model, B follows cultural model, C follows both.
B. Everybody's saying B.
Yes.
B.
All right, number 5, the statement that deaf people must learn to speak. A follows the medical model, B follows the cultural model, C follows medical and cultural model.
A.
A, yes.
A.
Yes, number 6, there is a sign language in A, Bangkok, Thailand, C, Bangkok, Thailand, C, both A and B, D, neither A nor B.
Ray is saying C. Meng is saying B. Yami is saying B.
D?
B, as in boy.
B.
B.
Actually, Bangkok
as in
has its
boy.
own sign language. Bangkok is like
Um,
Manila, so it must be C. C is
yeah,
the
Tibbs
correct.
is saying C.
Yeah. Number 7. There is a deaf identity in Bangkok, A, Bangkok, Thailand, B, Bangkok, Thailand, C, both A and B, D, neither A nor B.
A.
7.
Jasmine is saying A. A. Kyla is saying
Yes, yes, A.
Yami is
Yes.
saying I missed again the statement. Okay, can you do it again, Dr. Woody? Jasmine is
Yes,
saying
yes. There is a deaf identity in A, Bangkok, Thailand, B, Bangkok, Thailand, C, both A and B, D, neither A nor B.
okay, A.
A, correct. 9, there is a deaf culture in Bangkok, Thailand, A, B, Bangkok, Thailand, C, both A and B, D, neither A nor B.
A.
A, correct. Yeah, I see 10 and 11 here, yeah. That's, one should be deaf and one should be hearing, but most
Ray
deaf
is
people,
saying, are we in number 9 now, Dr.
we
Woody?
just finished 9. There's a deaf culture in A, Bangkok, B, Bangkok, C, both, D, neither.
A.
Yes. Number 10, most deaf people sign in Bangkok, Thailand, Bangkok, Thailand, both, or neither.
C.
C,
Wait.
correct. And number 11 is the same question. However, it should have been hearing people. Sorry about that. Okay. Number 12. There are A, more deaf people in Bangkok as compared with Bangkok. B, the same number of deaf people. C, fewer deaf people.
A.
A, more deaf people. There is a higher percentage of deaf people in Bangkok, the same percentage as Bangkok, or a lower percentage of deaf people.
Ray is saying A. And the rest now, Marvin is saying A. So are we in the last number, Dr. Woody? Yami is asking.
Yes,
Are we
yes,
on the last?
the last number.
Everybody's saying A.
What is
Most
the
high.
proportion? What is the proportion, percentage of deaf people in Bangkok? It's higher. In Bangkok, it's only 1 in 1,000. In Bangkok, it's about 1 in 100. So the percentage is higher.
Meng is saying it must be lower.
No. Oh, sorry. Wait. Let me read it again. Yes, there is a lower percentage of deaf people in Bangkok. Yes, sorry. A higher percentage in Bangkok. So the answer to this question is C. Meng, you were right. Sorry about that. A higher number, but a lower percentage.
But I got it wrong, Dr. Woody. My answer, I got it wrong. Meng is saying I answered A instead.
Okay, but you answered it correctly and when we reviewed. Okay, that's always the way, right? Answer it wrong on the test and then right on the review.
Ray and Marvin are raising their hands. Excuse me, Dr. Woody. I think Ray is asking something.
Yes.
Ray.
Number
And
12.
number 12. Yeah.
Let me go back.
It's letter A, right?
Wait, let me see.
Practice and answering
Number
Ray's
12.
question. It's A.
A, yes. The answer to number 13 is C. A for 12, more deaf people, yes. But a lower percentage. Okay, and Marvin?
Ken. I'm a little confused for number 6.
In part 4? the last one.
The choices, the statement was linguistic in.
Number 6, there is a distinct sign language in Bangkok and B, Bangkok, that one, or a different question?
Yeah, I think that's the question.
Yeah, there's one sign language in Bangkok and a different one in Bangkok. They have 2 different sign languages. In Bangkok, only the deaf people sign, but in Bangkok, both the hearing and deaf people sign.
Oh. Okay.
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 All right, fine. Any other questions? Somebody else had a question? Rents?
Ray is asking Marvin, were you asking about the question from the part 4 quiz?
Yeah, I think it
exam?
was question of part 4, number 6.
So what letter was the answer?
The answer is C. C. Because deaf separate. Deaf people in Bangkok have their own sign language and deaf identity, deaf culture. But Bangkok is a separate sign language and both deaf and hearing people use it. And there's no deaf identity or deaf culture. Okay. All right, so any other questions about the test?
I think none. Oh, Shaq is raising his hand.
Yes,
Dr.
okay.
Rudy.
Mm-hmm.
For part 1, 2, and 3, I answer it smoothly. But when we reach the part 4 in Thailand, I started to doubt my answer. That's why. So
Well,
I am not
anyway,
sure with my answer.
for the future, Thailand would be the same as Manila, and Bangkok would be the same as Providence Island. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? That's it. Okay. It's 3:35 your time. So would you like to start on the review for the deaf history class? Or do you want to wait, if you're tired now and you prefer to wait until next week to start the review?
Jasmine is saying, can we wait? Also, Ray is saying, I think we will take a rest.
Yeah, I mean, we can do 2 things. We can wait, meaning we stop class now if you don't have any other questions and you can rest, or we can take a break and come back. So I'm getting the idea you'd like to stop class now. Or you want break?
Ray is saying
Ray
it's a
wants to
break.
break. Okay, and what about other people?
Next week we'll go. Nathaniel is saying, when are you going to have our exam again?
It will be when you come back from vacation. So you tell me when you want to have the exam.
That will be November 4.
4th, okay? So we're not coming back on the 3rd, right? I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're not coming back on the 3rd. So if we have the test, it can be on the 4th or 5th, whichever you prefer.
November 5, just been saying, oh yeah, Kyla, 4 or 5, I think 5. So we'll just follow. Nothing is saying whatever the decision, and we'll just follow. So I think,
Meng's,
sorry.
You just decide 5th or 4th.
Meng saying that we already decided back last class that we were going to all do it on the 4th. Why are we changing it to 5th? I thought that we already said that it was 4th.
Well, if you want to do it on the 4th, it's fine, but you may be tired. You may want more time to review. I'm just giving you the option. So what we're going to do is take a break, and then we'll come back and review. And hopefully we will review everything. But if we don't review everything and we have the test on the 4th, it means that we won't have reviewed everything. So up to you.
Sounds good, sir. Sounds good.
Okay, well, let's take a break, and then we'll take a break for 15 minutes and then come back, and then we'll see how far we get on the review. Then you can make a better decision. So I'm happy to give it on the 4th as we originally decided, but I hope that we have time to review everything. Okay, in the meantime, I'm going to send Peebs. I'm not sure if, Peebs, did I send you the review questions for the Deaf Histories exam? I don't think I did.
Wait, I will check, Dr. Woody.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and send it to you now. And then if you find you already sent it, fine. If not, then you can send these around to everyone. Okay, so let's take a break. It's now 3:40. Let's come back at, I'm going to come back at 3:55 or 4 o'clock. Yeah, I think 4 o'clock better.
4 o'clock.
Okay, 4 o'clock is fine. Okay. All right, see you at 4 then. Okay. All right, let's go through these questions real quick. All right. Okay, for number, okay, basically, let's go over the additional questions first. Because we haven't had a chance to practice those. The other ones you've either had on the first quiz, the second quiz, or the midterm. Okay. I think you'll find most of these answers in your PowerPoint, but let's go through this. So additional study questions beyond the second quiz. Okay, 1, the WDL Thailand program began in 1990, 1995, 1997, 2000. (1997). C. The WDL Thailand program was an effort by Gallaudet University, Rajasthani College, the National Association of the Deaf in Thailand, or all of the above. All
Sorry,
of the above.
Dr. Woody, would it be okay if you say A, B, C, or D?
Yeah. Okay. So let's go back to number 1 then. The WDL Thailand program began in A, 1990, B, 1995, C, 1997, D, 2000. The answer is C, 1997. Number 2. Do you all have this open or not? I don't know if you have. This was the additional study questions.
Oh, not yet, sir. We're still figuring out which one to open because we have a whole bunch of attachments here. Yami's saying.
Okay.
So
All right.
Jasmine is showing them what it looks like. Nathaniel saying additional topics.
Additional study questions beyond the second. I think so. Let me see. Maybe it's a different one. Let me see which one I sent. Okay, hold on here.
Peeps is saying it's the last document.
The last,
in
the last
email.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Additional questions for the final exam in Deaf Histories. The other one I opened up was basically similar questions, but you should focus on these questions. Okay, number one, the first university certificate program in sign linguistics occurred in Thailand, Japan, Hong Kong, or Vietnam. Answer, sorry, A, Thailand, B, Japan, C, Hong Kong, D, Vietnam. Answer is D, in Vietnam. Number two, the WDL Thailand program began in A, 1993, B, 1994, C, 1997, D, 2000. Answer is C, 1997. Number three, the WDL Thailand program was an effort by Gallaudet University, A, B, Rochester College, C, the National Association of the Deaf in Thailand, D, all of the above.
I see B, I see D.
D, yes, okay. Number four, the WDL Thailand program trained Thai deaf people to become A, teachers of deaf children, B, sign language researchers, C, teachers of Thai sign language, D, all of the above.
I see C.
Yes, C is correct.
And I see B.
No D, only C. Only for sign language teacher training. Number five, the Dong Nai project began in A, 1990, B, 1995, C, 2000, D, 2005.
I see C.
C, correct, 2000. Okay, number six, the Dong Nai project program has trained Vietnamese deaf people to become A, teachers of deaf children, B, sign language researchers, C, teachers of sign languages in Vietnam, D, all of the above.
I see C and A.
D, all of the above. So the Thai WDL program only trained people to become teachers of sign languages, and the Dong Nai program trains in all of the areas. Okay, seven, the Dong Nai program uses A, speaking and signing at the same time, B, Ho Chi Minh City Sign Language, C, Ho Chi Minh City Sign Language and spoken Vietnamese at different times, not at the same time. D, Ho Chi Minh City Sign Language and written Vietnamese at different times.
I see B, I see C.
No C, no spoken Vietnamese, only D, Ho Chi Minh City Sign Language and written Vietnamese. Doesn't only use Ho Chi Minh City Sign Language, it uses Ho Chi Minh City Sign Language and written Vietnamese, D. Right, number eight, from 1817 to 1866, deaf education in the US was through A, speech, B, sign language, C, both A and B, D, neither.
I see A, I see B, I see C.
So when Gallaudet and Claire started, what did they use?
Sign language. Sign
Yes,
language.
right? And when did oral education start? In the US? 1867. So 1817 to 1866, the correct answer is B, only sign language, no speech. We'll come back over these questions again. Make sure you have them. Number 9, which of the people was the first woman to graduate from Gallaudet University? A, Teagle, B, Hotchkiss, C, Denison, D, Patton.
I see A's.
A, correct. Sorry, and the next one is number 5, should be number 10, sorry. Blank was the first president of the National Association of the Deaf in the USA. A, Booth, B, Hotchkiss, C, Denison, D, McGregor.
I see D.
Yes,
D.
D is the correct answer, McGregor. Okay, the next one, which is labeled as number 6, but should be a different number. Blank was a deaf person who attended the Second International Congress of the Deaf. A, Claire, B, E.M. Gallaudet, C, Denison, D, Hotchkiss.
I see C's. C's.
C is correct. Okay. The next one down, which is labeled 7, but should be a different number. Blank was the first deaf person to receive a PhD in linguistics. A, Teagle, B, Patton, C, Canapel, D, Foster.
I see B's.
B, Patton is correct. And the last question, which is labeled number 8, but should be a different number, was the first deaf teacher in the US. A, T.H. Gallaudet, B, Claire, C, Hotchkiss, D, Denison.
I see B's.
Claire, yes, correct. Okay, do you want me to go through these questions again? Make sure you have the correct answer.
Sure. Renz is saying, can we do it again? I missed one of them.
Okay. This time I'll ask you for the answer and make sure you have the right answer. Number 1, the first university certificate program in sign linguistics occurred in A, Thailand, B, Japan, C, Hong Kong, D, Vietnam.
I see A's. A.
No. The WDL Thailand program was not a certificate program in sign linguistics. It was a certificate program in sign language teaching. The correct answer to number 1 is D, Vietnam. We wanted to set up a program in Thailand, but Gallaudet didn't want to support that. Okay. Number 2, the WDL Thailand program began in A, 1993, B, 1994, C, 1997, D, 2000.
C.
C, correct. Number 3, the WDL Thailand program was an effort by A, Gallaudet University, B, Rochester College, C, the National Association of the Deaf in Thailand, D, all of the above.
I see D's.
D, correct.
D's and dog.
D as in dog, correct. Number 4, the WDL Thailand program trained Thai deaf people to become A, teachers of deaf children, B, sign language researchers, C, teachers of Thai sign language, D, all of the above.
C.
Yes, correct. Number 5, the Dong Nai project began in A, 1990, B, 1995, C, 2000, D, 2005.
I see C.
C, correct. Number 6, the Dong Nai program has trained Vietnamese deaf people to become A, teachers of deaf children, B, sign language researchers, C, teachers of sign languages in Vietnam, D, all of the above.
D, as in dog.
Yes, correct. Number 7, the Dong Nai program uses A, speaking and signing at the same time, B, Ho Chi Minh City Sign Language, C, Ho Chi Minh City Sign Language and spoken Vietnamese at different times, D, Ho Chi Minh City Sign Language and written Vietnamese at different times.
D,
D, correct. Number 8, from 1817 to 1866, deaf education in the U.S. was through A, speech, B, sign language, C, both A and B, D, neither A nor B.
I see B and Ray C.
No speech.
Oh, it's B. B,
B,
right.
yes, B. Okay, number 9. Blank was the first woman to graduate from Gallaudet University. A, Teagle, B, Hotchkiss, C, Dennison, D, Patton.
A.
A, correct. Number 5. Blank was the first president of National Association of the Deaf in the U.S. A, Booth, B, Hotchkiss, C, Dennison, D, McGregor.
D.
D is in dog, yes. Blank was a deaf person who attended the Second International Congress of the Deaf. A, Claire, B, E.M. Gallaudet, C, Dennison, D, Hotchkiss.
C.
C, correct. Okay. Blank was the first deaf person to receive a PhD in linguistics. A, Teagle, B, Patton, C, Canapel, D, Foster.
I see B.
C or B?
B as in boy.
Yes, boy, Patton. And the last question, Blank was the first deaf teacher in the U.S. A, T.H. Gallaudet, C, Claire, B, Claire, C, Hotchkiss, D, Dennison.
B.
B as in boy, yes, okay. All right, you all have the new questions. Okay, so let's look at, the midterm exam. Oops. I didn't send all the ones to you, sorry. Okay, let's look at deaf history. Number 1, which is okay, first quiz. Okay, the first public school for deaf people was established in A, England, B, France, C, Germany, D, United States.
B.
Yes. By A, Monsieur, B, Claire, C, Sicard, D, Lepay. First deaf school.
D.
D,
And one B.
Lepay. Right.
D.
N, A, 1734, B, 1744, C, 1754, D, 1764.
C.
C, correct. The method of instruction was A, natural deaf signing, B, signing following the spoken language, C, speaking and signing at the same time, D, speaking only.
B as in boy.
Yes. Question number 2. The second public school for deaf people was established in A, England, B, France, C, Germany, D, United States.
A.
A, yes, England. By A, Gallaudet, B, Braidwood, C, Flournoy, D, Booth.
B.
B as in boy, yes. N, A, 1730, B, 1740, C, 1750, D, 1760.
D.
D is in dog, yes?
Yes, D.
Okay. Next question. The method of instruction was A, natural deaf signing, B, signing following the spoken language, C, speaking and signing at the same time, D, speaking only.
I see D.
D, correct. Okay, Mason Cogswell asked a person to establish a school for the deaf people in the U.S. Did he ask A, E.M. Gallaudet, B, T.H. Gallaudet, C, Amos Kendall, D, A.G. Bell?
B, as in boy.
Boy, okay. I thought I heard E. Okay. So this person first went to A, England, B, France, C, Germany, none of the above, D.
I see A.
A, England. And then he went to A, England, B, France, C, Germany, D, none of the above.
I say B. B, France.
B is in France, yes, okay. Number 4. The third public school for deaf people was established it's in Europe, in England, France, A, England, B, France, C, Germany, D, United States.
I see C.
C, correct, Germany. By A, Heineke, B, Hasseldorf, C, Gallaudet, D, Hare.
A.
Yes, A, Heineke. In A, 1758, B, 1768, C, 1778, and D, 1817.
I see B and C, mostly B.
Yeah, I have to look that up myself. I've now forgotten. So hold on a second. I think it's C, but I'm not sure. Let me check. I'm too tired. I know you're tired also. Okay, let me see. PowerPoint. Okay, PowerPoint. Okay, and
We can do an interpreter switch.
okay. (1778) in Germany. Okay, so that would be C. The method of instruction was A, natural deaf signing, B, signing following the spoken language, C, speaking and signing at the same time, D, speaking only.
C, Jasmine saying C, and Ren's D, speaking only.
Yeah, it should be D, speaking only. At one time, Heineke talked about using sign language, but he didn't really use it. Okay, so that's the answer to quiz number 1. Whoops. All right, let's see if we got quiz number 2 here. Okay, quiz number 2. Okay, have you got that one up? Quiz number 2. First question.
Yes, sir.
The first public school for deaf people in Asia was established in A, Thailand, B, Korea, C, Japan, D, Vietnam.
C.
C, correct.
And Marvin is saying B.
D?
B as in boy.
Boy, no, first in Japan. First deaf association was in Korea. First school was in Japan. Number 2, the first public school in Asia was established for deaf people was established in A, 1778, B, 1780, C, 1878, D, 1880.
Yes, mostly is answering C, but Meng's saying B.
Should be C, 1878. Okay. The second public school for deaf people in Asia was established in A, Thailand, B, Vietnam, C, Korea, D, Japan.
B.
B,
B.
Vietnam.
Marvin is saying D as in dog.
D as in dog.
D as in dog.
No, second public school. First public school was in Japan.
Ah,
Second public school was in Vietnam.
he changed into B.
Say again?
You changed it back.
Marvin changed it to the letter B, but Yami is saying D, as in dog again. Yami is saying D.
D, yes, okay. Well, no, let me see. Second public school in Asia was in Vietnam. So that would be
D?
B. B is in boy. First public school was in Asia. It was in Japan. Second public school was in Vietnam. Number 4, the second public school in Asia was established in A, 1776, B, 1786, C, 1876, D, 1886.
D.
As in dog, yes? Yes, 1886. The first Association of Deaf People in Asia, number 5, was established in A, Japan, B, Korea, C, Thailand, D, Vietnam.
B. Korea.
That's correct. The first Association of Deaf People in Asia was established in A, 1945, B, 1946, C, 1947, D, 1948.
B. Ray is saying D. Pims is saying C. The rest.
No, B as in
B.
boy is the correct answer. Number 7, C, 1947 is the date. The second one was set up in Japan. The second Association of Deaf People in Asia was established in A, Vietnam, B, Korea, C, Japan, D, Thailand.
C.
Should be Japan.
The
C,
answer is C.
yes. And then number 8, the second Association of Deaf People in Asia was established in A, 1945, B, 1946, C, 1947, D, 1948.
C.
C, yes. Number 9, the first study of a linguistic study of a sign language happened in A, France, B, USA, C, Germany, D, England.
US. B.
B, yes. Number 10, the first linguistic study of a sign language happened in A, 1760, B, 1860, C, 1960, D, 2000.
C. Jasmine
Yes,
and
C,
Ray is saying C.
right, C, correct.
Ren
Who was
saying A.
A, okay,
Oh, C. Sorry, C.
sorry, C. Okay, yes, C. Number 11, who was the first person to do a linguistic study of a sign language? A, Lepay, B, Clare, C, Stokey, D, Woodward.
C. Stokey.
C, Stokey, yes. The World Federation of the Deaf was established in Rome, Italy. Before Asia had national associations of deaf people, in the same year, Asia started to have associations. After Asia had established some associations, or D, after Asia had established all the associations in Asia.
C.
C?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Number 13, the first linguistics dissertation on a sign language happened in 1953, 1963, 1973, or none of the above. A,
C.
53, C, correct.
C.
Yes. Okay, 14. Who wrote the first linguistics dissertation on a sign language? Casterline, Kronberg, Stokey, or Woodward?
Woodward.
Yes,
D.
D. Okay, deaf president, number 15, deaf president now movement occurred at A, National Technical Institute for the Deaf, B, National Association of the Deaf in the US, C, Gallaudet University, D, American School for the Deaf.
C.
C, correct. The Deaf President Now movement occurred in A, 1986, B, 1987, C, 1988, D, 1989.
C.
C, correct, 1988. Number 17, the first play about attitudes towards the sign language called Sign Me Alice was written in A, 1960, B, 1963, C, 1970, D, 1973.
D.
D is in dog, yes,
Dog.
1973. Who wrote the first play about attitudes towards sign language called Sign Me Alice? A, Casterline, B, Kronberg, C, Eastman, D, Stokey.
C. Is
D, correct. Okay, number 19.
Ray saying B.
Huh?
Ray saying B.
C,
Ray
Eastman.
B.
Yeah, I know, but the answer is Eastman, C. Okay, number 19. What was the first year that the majority of deaf students in the US were educated orally? A, 1895, B, 1905, C, 1915, D, 1925.
B. Boy.
Yes, B as in boy. Number 20, the first dictionary of American Sign Language based on linguistic principles was prepared by A, 3 deaf people, B, 2 deaf people and 1 hearing person, C, 1 deaf person and 2 hearing people, D, 3 hearing people.
B.
B
Boy.
as in boy, that's correct. Okay, now let's open the other one you have, but I still have to send you 2 more. So let's open the third one. Okay, all right, so blank was a famous teacher opposed to the idea of a deaf state in the US. A, John Carlin, B, John Flournoy, C, Edmund Booth, D, Laurent Clair.
D.
D as in dog, yes.
Dog.
Yes, number 2, the method of instruction in the first school for deaf people in the world was A, speaking, B, speaking and signing at the same time, C, deaf sign language, D, signing following the order of the spoken language.
Pibbs is saying D and also Rex. Yummy.
D is in,
D. Dog.
yes, D is dog, yes. Okay, Mason A, Gallaudet, Mason B, and Kendall, Mason C, Mason Cogswell, D, Mason Fowler was a doctor in the US.
C.
C, correct.
C.
Mason Cogswell had a deaf daughter named A, Alice, B, Susan, C, Sophia, D, Helen.
A.
A, Alice. Remember, Sign Me Alice. That's about her, kind of, but not really. Okay, number 5. The doctor contacted a minister named Melvin Bell, A.G. Bell, T.H. Gallaudet, or E.M. Gallaudet.
C.
C, T.H. Gallaudet, yes. The minister first went to A, France, B, Germany, C, England, D, America.
C.
Gallaudet went to France, C, England. Okay. The U.S. National Association of the Deaf was set up in Hartford, A, Hartford, Connecticut, B, Washington, D.C., C, Cincinnati, Ohio, D, Cleveland, Ohio.
C. C.
C, yes, C, Cincinnati, Ohio. The first president of the U.S. National Association of the Deaf was A, Edmund Booth, B, John Flournoy, C, Robert McGregor, D, John Hotchkiss.
C. McGregor.
C, yes, McGregor. Okay, at the number 9, at the International Congress on Deafness, 180 people voted that oralism was preferred to sign language in teaching deaf students. Blank number of people voted against the resolution. 0, 1, 5, 6.
D.
D, 6, correct. The Columbia Institute for the Deaf, the first school for deaf people in Washington, D.C., was established in A, 1817, B, 1857, C, 1864, D, 1865.
Jasmine saying C, also Yami and Kyla. Ren saying B.
No, C. C was the year it was established. And then the next question, number 11, the first college for deaf people was named National Mute College in 1817, 1857, 1864, or 1865.
D.
D is in dog,
Dog.
yes. So the school was established in 1864, allowed to give college degrees, signed by Lincoln, and then in 1865, the name was changed. Okay, so we have actually a couple of more tests to go through. Let me find those and send them to you real quick. I thought I sent all of those, but I didn't. Okay, so. Okay. Okay, because we're in a hurry, I'm going to send. Okay, the last one we looked at was part 3. Okay, so I'm sending you now, I'm sending to Peeps part 1 and part 2 for the midterm. Sorry, it's a little delayed. Peeps, did you get it yet?
He's just checking his email. 1 moment.
Okay.
Jasmine went to the bathroom.
Okay. Okay, I can go ahead and let's see. Okay, so this, now we're going to look at second part, sorry, first part of the midterm. Shall I begin, or Peeps, have you been able to send out yet or not?
Not yet, sir.
Okay.
Peeps is saying, I just sent it out.
Okay.
Please open.
Okay, as soon as you receive it, open up part 1 of 3 parts.
One moment, sir.
Okay.
Ray is saying I'm still waiting for the email.
Ray saying what?
I'm still waiting for the email.
Okay. Mhm. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start. I think you can remember these without seeing them. Okay, number 1, a doctor in the US who had a deaf child contacted a minister named A. Melville Bell, B. A.G. Bell, C. T.H. Gallaudet, D. E.M. Gallaudet to help find a way to set up a school for deaf people in the US.
C.
C. T.H. Gallaudet, correct. The minister attended a lecture by blank, who was the principal of the Saint-Jacques School for the Deaf. A. Lepay, B. Monsieur, C. Sicard, D. Fowler.
C.
C. Sicard. 2 deaf teachers also lectured. Their names were A. Jean Monsieur and Laurent Claire. B. T.H. Gallaudet and E.M. Gallaudet. C. Laurent Claire and Sophia Fowler. D. Jean Monsieur and Sophia Fowler.
A.
A is correct. Okay, and the Second International Congress of the Deaf met in the year A, 1878, B, 1880, C, 1882, D, 1884.
B.
B, 1880, correct. The Second International Congress of the Deaf was held in A, Cincinnati, Ohio, B, Paris, France, C, Milan, Italy, D, Washington,
C.
D.C. C, Milan, Italy, correct. Number 6, the largest number of deaf teachers in the US occurred in the year A, 1852, B, 1868, C, 1900, D, 1960.
B.
B, 1868, correct, 42%. Number 7, many early students at the first school for deaf people in the US came from which island? Providence Island, Martha's Vineyard Island, Rennell Island, or Atamorobe, where there was a large deaf population?
B.
B, Martha's Vineyard, yes. And in the year, and this is 8 and 9, are connected in the year 8A, 1845, B, 1855, C, 1865, D, 1875. A man named John Gallaudet, Booth, Clare, or Flournoy proposed the idea of a deaf state. The year?
Rance is saying A. Pib is saying D. Also Kyla D. Jasmine saying D.
Okay, what year? 1855 or 1875 or 1845?
1880. I missed it. Dr. Woody Yami is saying
Is what? One more time?
1880. What? I missed it, Dr. Woody.
Okay,
I
so
missed
it
the
would
last digit.
be B, 1855. And the man's name was John A. Gallaudet, B. Booth, C. Clare, D. Flournoy. Wanted to set up a deaf state.
Are we in number 9 now, Dr. Woody? Kyla
Yes,
is
yes,
asking.
no. Well, yeah, but we can go back to number 8 if you want. Number 9, yes.
Oh, the answer is D. D, right? D.
It's in Flournoy, yes. 10, as a result of the Second International Congress of First National Association of the Deaf was set up in the year A, 1878, B, 1880, C, 1882, D, 1884.
B as in boy.
Yes, correct, 1880. The Columbia Institute for the Deaf was allowed to award college degrees in A, 1857, B, 1864, C, 1894, D, 1904.
B.
B as in boy, correct.
Boy.
Okay, now we just have the one test left to go through. What I would suggest, we're going to open that up now, but what I would suggest is you go through these tests again and make sure you know the answer. And then if you want, we can have some questions on the 4th. And then we can decide if we want to have the exam on the 4th or 5th. I'm happy to have it on the 4th if you all feel you are ready. This is number 3. Oh, I sent the wrong one out. Oh, well. Let me try again. Okay, sorry. You want me just to read the questions, or you want me to send them out? Or both?
Yeah, both. So
Both,
they have it
okay,
on
hold on.
screen.
It's gonna take a couple of minutes for me to find it, so. Too many meetings today. Okay, hold on. Okay. Okay. Let me send this on then.
So you sent it?
Pardon me?
You just
The
sent
second
it, Pete?
part. Yes, the second part. Second part of the midterm.
All right, sir. All right.
Part 2 of term. Sorry. I thought I sent that on before, but let me try again. Okay, hopefully I've got the right one now. I'm sending it out now. Sorry about that, peeps. And all of you, sorry.
Okay, sir.
This is part 2. Let me know when you have it opened.
He's saying I already sent it to all of you.
Have it now?
He just sent it, Dr. Woody.
Okay.
He just sent it.
Okay. So who was a famous artist that opposed the idea of a deaf state? Was it A, John Carlin, B, John Flournoy, C, Edmund Booth, D, John Hotchkiss?
A.
A, correct. Number 2, the method of instruction in the second school for deaf people in the world was A, speaking, B, speaking and signing at the same time, deaf sign language, signing following the order of the spoken language.
A.
A, speaking, correct. The first International Congress of the Deaf was held in the year A, 1878, B, 1880, C, 1882, D, 1884.
A.
A, correct.
A.
Yes. Number 4, the first International Congress of the Deaf was held in A, Cincinnati, Ohio, B, Milan, Italy, C, Paris, France, D, Washington, D.C. C, correct?
C. C.
Number C, yes. Number 5, Erastus Deaf Smith was a famous deaf scout and spy in A, Oklahoma, B, Tennessee, C, Texas, D, Washington, D.C.
C.
C, correct. Erastus Deaf Smith fought at the Battle of A, the Alamo, B, San Jacinto, C, both A and B, D, neither A nor B.
B.
B as in boy, correct?
Boy.
Yes, okay. In 1817, A, T.H. Gallaudet and Sophia Fowler, B, E.M. Gallaudet and Sophia Fowler, C, T.H. Gallaudet and Laurent Clair, and D, E.M. Gallaudet and Laurent Clair set up the first public school for deaf people in the U.S.
C.
Correct. Number 8, the school used what to teach deaf students? A, spoken English, B, modified French Sign Language, C, American Sign Language, and D, signing and talking at the same time.
B.
B as in boy, modified French Sign Language. Because American Sign Language hadn't completely developed at that time. There were blank number of deaf people present at the Second International Congress of Deaf. A, 0, B, 1, C, 5, D, 6. Second Congress.
B.
B.
And Ray is saying C.
No, only one deaf person, Dennison.
So it's B.
6 voted in favor of using sign language, so B as in boy. Number 10, there were blank number of deaf people present in the first International Congress on Deafness. 0, A, 0, B, 1, C, 5, D, 6.
Yami and Justin is saying A. Meng is saying B. Ray is saying A.
Okay, the first International Congress was 0. That was in Paris. The second International Congress, that's number 9, was B as in 1. But 10, first International Congress, 0. No deaf people. And 11, the first principal of the Columbia Institute for the Deaf was A, Sophia Fowler, B, T.H. Gallaudet, C, E.M. Gallaudet, D, Amos Kendall.
C.
C.
Just been saying, I also believe saying C. Okay,
See,
the rest is same.
E.M. Gallaudet in 1857. Okay, all right, well, I'm sure we're all exhausted now, including the interpreters. Okay, so now the question is, I'm happy to have the exam on the 4th, which is the day you come back, right? If you feel you're ready, I'm happy to give the exam on that day. Do you feel we reviewed enough?
I think we're good. I think we're good. We're good. Yes, Sir Woody. Very good.
Okay, so we'll continue with the 4th then. If you have any questions on the 4th, you can ask them before the test. But we won't review on the 4th. We won't review again. Okay, but you can ask questions on the 4th. Okay,
Thank you, Dr. Woody.
okay, thank you all. We finished on time.